I don't know where Tessa wound up, but I think I know who took her.
That motorcycle belongs to my brother, Griffin Landry.
The Way Home just sent Kat and Alice to two completely different decades in the same episode, and I honestly do not know which timeline broke my brain more, because the episode did not just move the story forward. It quietly rewrote everything we thought we understood about the Landry family, and it did it through a woman we've been sleeping on since the very beginning. Let's talk about everything that happened in Blinded by the Light, what the Fern and Goodwin connection actually means, and why that final moment with Griffin Landry on a motorcycle is the most important image this season has given us yet. First, Kat in the 1920s. And I need to start with the moment that stopped me completely. Before Kat even gets her bearings, Fern mutters something almost to herself. She says, "Don't think you're the one. You're a girl after all." And Kat catches it. She asks the one for what? And Fern immediately changes the subject. Just like that. Gone. And the episode never comes back to it. I honestly could not stop thinking about that line for the rest of the episode. Because Fern is not a loopy person who says random things, this episode proved that beyond any doubt. She knows the rules of the pond. She knows she cannot ask about the future. She understands the magic has its reasons. And a woman that's self-aware does not accidentally say something like, "Don't think you're the one." She has been waiting for someone, and Kat is not who she expected to come through that pond, which means someone else is. And I need to know who. Now, we also find out in this episode that, like Kat, Fern works at the paper. She manages the society pages, which tells us everything about her personality: ambitious, social, drawn to the spotlight. And nothing attracts her to the spotlight more than Griffin Goodwin, Evelyn Goodwin's eventual grandfather. A man throwing the most extravagant parties Port Haven has ever seen and pitching a Hollywood film that would put this town on the map. And the star of that film, the woman he wants in front of the camera, is Fern Landry, who accepts his proposal the very same evening. And I could see exactly what that moment did to Kat. Standing there, watching Fern say yes to a ring, while she is still waiting for Elliot to get down on one knee. The look on Kat's face in that scene told the whole story. But here's what makes this more complicated. Grayson is cutting deals with the Augustine brothers. The ratty Augustine brothers, as Kat describes them, and those brothers are bootleggers. And those tunnels, the same tunnels Luis mentioned wanting to open to the public in the premiere, are apparently full of secrets that have been frozen in time since the 1920s. 5 men went into those tunnels, only 4 came out, and I honestly think Griffin Goodwin might be the one who never came back. Which would mean Fern married into a family whose patriarch died in a bootlegger tunnel and then spent the rest of her life protecting that secret. And then Clifton Kane walks in, the new temperance officer in town, the man who shut down Grayson's illegal party and somehow ends up living on the Landry farm because of Kat. And the chemistry between him and Fern is immediate and undeniable. So now we have 2 men. Griffin Goodwin and Clifton Kane. And a question the show has apparently been sitting on for generations. Who is the father of Fern's children? Because Del tells Kat at the end of the episode that it was never clear. Fern told a story about a sailor. And Kat recognizes that story as the exact film Grayson was pitching at his party, which means Fern was never telling the whole truth. And if the father of her children is Grayson, then the Landry and Goodwin bloodlines merged 100 years ago. And nothing about Max and Alice and Casey is what we thought it was. Before Kat leaves the 1920s, she asks Fern if she knows Tessa Augustine. Nothing, no recognition. But then Kat tries the maiden name from the passport, Tessa Cooper. And Fern's entire face changes. She knows that name. She knows more than she is saying, and suddenly the Tessa mystery that has been running through this entire season has roots in the 1920s that we did not know existed. I have never felt the pull to jump back into this storyline more than I do right now. Now Alice in 1976. And the energy in the 1970s could not be more different from the glamour and secrets of the 1920s. But this is where the episode does something quietly extraordinary. Alice does not know why the pond brought her there. She is wandering through a lingermore filled with hippies and spiritual energy, and then she runs into Evelyn Goodwin, the woman she has not seen in 2 years, who now has a husband and who is pregnant. And I honestly could not breathe through that scene. Because the moment Alice registers what Evelyn is telling her, she understands immediately why she is there. She is there to hold Evelyn's hand through one of the biggest moments of her life, and to remind her that she will be a great mother no matter which path she chooses. And this moment, this quiet conversation between two women in 1976 directly leads to Max existing. Max, who is now Alice's best friend, Max, who may be the father of her future children. The pond brought her there to protect the beginning of a story that she is living in the middle of right now. I honestly love this show so much for doing that. And then there is Colton, who hears Alice hiding behind her grandfather's songs and calls her out on it directly. He tells her that song is not really you, and he encourages her to face how she feels and write her own love song the way he wrote his for Dell, which is the push Alice has needed all season. And I think this is the conversation that unlocks something in her about Noah and Max that she has not been willing to look at yet. But the final image of this episode is the one I cannot stop thinking about. Griffin Landry arriving in Port Haven on a motorcycle. Placed directly in the timeline, Elliot's mother exists, and Dell confirms Griffin is the person she ripped out of that photograph, which means Griffin and Tessa were in Port Haven together that summer. Which means Colton's request that Dell put that night behind them was protecting a secret about Griffin and Tessa. And the baby left on their doorstep, Elliot, might have a connection to Griffin that changes everything we thought we knew about Elliot's origin. This poor man is just trying to find out where he came from, and every person who knows the answer is either dead or protecting a promise they made decades ago. I honestly do not know how Elliot is going to handle everything this season is about to tell him. But I do know that when it finally comes out, it is going to be one of the most emotional moments this show has ever delivered. Episode 3, Dust in the Wind, airs May 3 on Hallmark Channel at 9 p.m. You can stream it the next day on Hallmark Plus. And if you are just catching up, seasons 1 through 3 are all on Netflix right now. This final season has 10 episodes, and it is already shaping up to be everything this show has been building towards since that very first pond jump. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think Grayson or Clifton is the father of Fern's children? And what do you think Fern meant when she said, "Don't think you're the one"? Because I have been turning that line over in my head since the moment the episode ended. And I think the answer to that question is the answer to everything.